Welcome back to the Fracking Farmhouse, where this week we're going to be talking about a sort of a nationwide thing rather than the local Marsh Lane thing. The government are having two consultations are running simultaneously at the moment. They were announced in July this year and they are running until October the 24th or 6th. One of the consultations is making shale gas exploration permitted development, and the other one is including shale gas production projects in the nationally significant infrastructure project regime. What? Permitted development, right? The first one is, right, permitted development. When you're going to develop, sometimes when you're going to build things, when you're going to do a project, you need planning permission. Planning permission has been put in to protect people, but it was originally, the history of it was sort of, you know, housing, to make sure housing was safe and fit for people. But it also stops you building factories right next to houses. It stops you doing things that will affect other people. So you have to take things into account, and that's what the planning process is for. And it's judged by elected representatives. You have in our case, the Minerals Planning Authority, that's got councillors who have been elected, so you have democracy there. So you have elected people who decide whether development can go ahead, not just a wealthy person. If they make shale gas exploration permitted development, all they need is the permission of the landowner. Okay, yes, they'll need things from the Environment Agency and the Health and Safety Executive, but they're all government run and they just tick boxes and say, yes, you've got all your permits. So it would mean that if your next door neighbour, if you're lucky enough like me to live next to a field, your neighbour could just go, I want to put a well pad on there, and permitted development would just let it happen. And there'd be nothing you could do about it. At the moment, you could go to a planning process and through a planning appeal and all things to get your voice heard. But if they make shale gas development permitted development, you would not have any legal recourse to stopping it. This is shocking. This is shocking. The reason they're doing this is because elected members like Woodsets did today, they said, no, you can't have planning permission. And then they have to go to all the expense of going to a public inquiry, which they did for us at Marsh Lane. And of course the public inquiry is going to give permission because the inspector is appointed by the Secretary of the State, and the Secretary of State in a written ministerial statement says, we want fracking, so go and do what you're told. So that's kind of what happens. So they don't need permitted development to get planning permission. They can get planning permission anyway by going to a public inquiry, but that's more expensive. And INEOS, the richest privately owned company of business, don't want to spend any more money than they have to, and they don't want local people saying their things. So they want the law changed so that it can be permitted development. But this consultation is open. It wants to hear from you. So here's a link somewhere where you can go to the government website and you can leave your comment. Okay, so you can comment on it. But a better way is to write a letter to your MP and say, please pass this letter on to the Secretary of State for the consultation on permitted development. Okay, that's the best way, because if your MP, in our case we've got an anti-fracking Tory, Lee Rowley, if he hands it over, if your MP hands it over, he or she, to the Secretary of State, they have to read it. Okay, so hopefully a lot of you out there will be writing, permitted development, terrible idea for loads of reasons. Environment, we just don't want to go down the route of this, and it will just allow people to put well pads anywhere. And the other one is making shale gas production nationally significant infrastructure projects, things like HS2 and the Heathrow third runway. You know, when real bonuses, real benefits for the nation, questionable, I know, but really big infrastructure gets this status, and then you can do compulsory purchases of land and you don't need planning permission. And that's what they need to get fracking through, right? And how can it be nationally significant, right? Somebody did a research, they did an estimate. It's only a guesstimate because nobody's actually fracked a well in this country. We don't know how much gas will come out, but doing the best guess, they reckon to replace 25 no, half of 25% or half of our imports of gas, we need 6,000 wells, right? 6,000 wells to be drilled to get enough gas out to halve our imports. That's a lot of wells and not making a lot of difference to our economy. How can that be nationally significant infrastructure? Think about this, the 6,000 wells. I did a bit of maths the other day, because our well up here, it's going to take 3 months to drill. So you've got to say that one rig can probably at best drill 3 wells a year, okay? Because about 4 months, because it's got to move from site to site. So at best it can drill 3 wells a year. 6,000 wells we need to halve our imports. So that means if we had one rig, it would take 2,000 years. We ain't got 2,000 years. We've only got 20 years before we've got to stop burning fossil fuels totally. So to go from 2,000 years to 20 years, you've got a factor of 100. You've got to times it by 100. So they've not got one rig drilling all the time for 20 years. You're going to need 100 rigs drilling simultaneously for 20 years, all on different well pads, all across the north of England, 100 rigs running at once, all the time for 20 years, and then you've got to get the frack trucks in and you've got to smash it all open. How can that be nationally significant infrastructure? And INEOS only want it to make plastic, right? So get on to the government, talk to the government, write to your MP, please. We've got until halfway through October, or 24th, 26th of October to get these things in. We think it's great. You can go to the Friends of the Earth website. If you look, fracking communities in action, communities in action fracking, if you just Google that, there's petitions, they're very active, Friends of the Earth, CPI. This is something we can really win on because it's such a bad idea. And we do think that there's a chink of weakness here, because rather than just rolling over for the fossil fuel industry as this government has been doing, it's actually said, okay, is that what you want, fossil fuel industry? We'll have a consultation. Aha! There's a weakness. So get all the links, do a bit of research and get it in there. Let's stop permitted development, stop nationally significant infrastructure projects, and let's kick the frackers out and send them off because we don't want them. Thanks for listening to the Fracking Farmhouse.